Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for February 19th through 22nd, 2021. Well, how are you doing? Big weekend. Wow. I know the saga continues, but we've got Mars and Venus in exact square. How many squares of this Aquarius Taurus energy, and what is the message with this? It's hard when things are so intense and you're in the walls of the experience, to really get a grip on what's happening. But now that these Aquarius, Taurus, we've got a while of this energy, but, a little less of it in a way. Saturn and Uranus in exact square at 7 degrees, and they actually stay close for 6 months through July. And so we're still going to be feeling this. And what is it about? Though, but all the other squares will be starting to come off. Like Jupiter, Black Moon Lilith is starting to separate. We're still feeling that. Jupiter is at 14 degrees now, Black Moon Lilith at 13 degrees. So we've got that square. We've got Saturn, Jupiter in Aquarius, Black Moon Lilith, and Taurus at 13, 14. We've got Saturn in Aquarius, Uranus, and Taurus at 7 degrees. And then at 23 degrees, we have Venus and Mars, Venus in Aquarius, Mars in Taurus. And so we're coming up against, this is like the crux energy, because we talked about how these the bigger planets, they're out there, they're doing their thing, but we don't really feel that. It doesn't come home into our experience until our personal planets are involved. And so here we have our masculine and our feminine in this exact square in these signs. Now we've got Aquarius energy, which is trying to do it a different way, trying to move the air, higher vibrational frequency, which has actually been quite stressful on the nervous system with 5 planets in Aquarius and then the moon in that new moon in Aquarius. And so, wow. And so that's a big shift because the sun has moved over into Pisces now today. So it's taking a little bit of the pressure off of this Aquarian energy, but the reason why it feels so pressurized, because it's like in square to Taurus, which is the earth, it's fixed, it's solid, it's the mountain, it's substance, there's a stubbornness, which can work for us. But in square, it's about a stubbornness around moving into the Aquarian age. And it really comes down to whether or not humanity, do you deserve it? Or do you want to stay as a program slave? Or do you want to move into the golden age? We're running out of options, right? So, wow. Mars and Venus here, Venus trying to find this permission within to receive this new energy. And Mars in Taurus saying, yes, let's get on with this. But this inability to receive this low self-worth in humanity and the supernova soul for your own power, for your own light, is getting in the way. And it's like this message with all of these squares. It's been like 12, 13, 14 different Aquarius square Taurus. It's like trying to hit us over the head with this message. And yet we're still in it. So it's a little bit hard. But this Black Moon Lilith Jupiter coming off is definitely like Jupiter's trying to shine the light, to bring the expansion, to bring the light into the darkest corners. So we're like calling in, you can feel the souls on the planet right now, like calling in the light, like, okay, come on, let's do this, right? But then the light has to go, in order for it to come into our life and into our world, it's got to go first to the darkest corners, and so the square energy is making, especially masculine, feminine, battle of the sexes, battle of the duality mind, coming up against this frustration, this stubbornness, this stuckness, and resistance to positive change. Is this the only thing holding us back? Is humanity's resistance to positive change? So, wow. And now that's the darkest corners. And maybe it's that we have this dark stuff that's been going on the planet that we don't know about. But those of us who know, and those of us, there's lots of people who feel it but don't know what it is. And this is kind of the energy right now. It's like with this Saturn at 7 degrees and square with Uranus in Taurus at 7 degrees exact through the 24th, through this weekend into the middle of next week. This is exact. And this is like tectonic plate moving stuff, right? This is like there's a jam, an ice jam. And at some point, that shit's got to give way, right? And this is this pressure. I mean, that would make sense with all these squares with Aquarius and Taurus being like pressure and the dam about to break. And how long do you stay there, right? Like, you know, and that it's like bringing us to the picture of being in the birth canal and can't quite let, the head's not coming out. You know, when do you have the intervention? And, you know, when is there the suffocation of, you know, like, so we're just in this place. And for the supernova soul, it's a powerful time for you because it's about coming into this deservedness for your massive spiritual wealth that you didn't know you had, but we need so much on the planet right now. And we're in this wilderness testing period where we are giving an opportunity to disconnect, to separate from our physical attachment to our physical body, to our ego attachments, the lower personality constructs. And yes, they're holding on for dear life, but it's one of those times in this pressure building moment where you want to take advantage of it. And you're like, okay, if this is what God is giving me right now, I am going to step into the fires of this flame. I am going to own my power and let this light come in. And in order for the light to come in into our heart, into our consciousness, heart consciousness, you know, we've got to clear those trauma programs. Now, those trauma programs are bound to come up with this astrology because that's what's been used to keep us attached to our material ego lower construct. You know, really keep us from our spiritual awakening, our spiritual evolution. It's an attack. So it's almost like in order to disconnect and let this light into our life, into this evolution, into our heart, and this Christ consciousness descending as we grab a hold and bring this down into this world right now. It's almost like we have to go lay in that wound, that big gashing wound. We have to just go be there and let that burn away all the false stories of who we were told we were. And this is a huge energy as Neptune is starting to come off of its square with the nodes. And it's like Neptune's been in jail, you know, and Neptune's waking up from a bad dream now, waking up from this trauma story, from this programming, from this mind control experiment is what it feels like. And it feels like we've been drugged. You can't remember what happened. This whole, and the feeling of that Neptune square, the nodes, it's a karmic energy. The nodes are always karmic. Like, what do you need to go forward and what's keeping you from moving, or, you know, what's keeping you from the past karma that's keeping you from that new path, the path forward. And, but Neptune in square to the nodes is just like this. How do you clear the karmic contracts when you can't discern reality? You know, you can't even figure out what's up from down. And the feeling of this transit is like, oh, I'm just tired and I give up and I'm just going to go home. Forget it. And the ironic thing is that, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're going home. We're going home into our heart. And that's what creating this new world here. And the pressure is on to sprout your seed. And we're especially feeling it this weekend. But Mercury turning direct. Now, Mercury's at that 11-degree marker, and the exact time of its turning is like in the Western U.S. Saturday night in the Western U.S. time zones. And so that's kind of what we're looking at here. And it will take a while. Mercury will stay at 11 degrees still for another, almost a week still. And so it takes a while for Mercury to get going, but that shift, that change is very dynamic. And so these are the energies. And now we're moving into, in a week, we have the full moon in Virgo. That's Saturday, the 27th, but the activation will be on Friday, the 26th. So look out for that full moon in Virgo activation. That is about cleaning house. It's about, okay, what did Jupiter and Black Moon Lilith bring to the surface? And now let's clear that, renew, rejuvenate, regenerate, redeem these souls. As you redeem your soul and you come into your permission to be in your spiritual power and feel better and be in joy and live the life we're meant to live, that's how you help the souls that are stuck. A big part of what's been used to hold back our spiritual evolution is, this is on the table right now. It feels like, because of this Black Moon Lilith activation, souls that have gone through intense traumas beyond what we can imagine. And then those traumas being the way that these souls are stuck in between. They can't come in their body because there's too much, but they can't pass back to God. And that's part of the reason why supernova souls, advanced souls, come into bodies. And part of the deal with the whole story and mythology with Yeshua and Jesus, what he was doing here was living, overcoming the physical body, and in his leaving the earth with all of his light, taking a whole bunch of souls stuck with him, right? And that's what we're doing here. And that's why it feels so dark. And the deal is that these souls have been stuck for a long time. It's nothing new, but now we're feeling it. And then that oppressive feeling, like I have to do something about it, like your supernova soul, like it's up to me and how I'm cleanup crew, and where's my team? Where's my army? What are we doing here? Because this is really freaking heavy. And that's part of this wilderness experience, right? Like you got to go and know you can do it. And then we can come back together and celebrate and amplify. But we're crossing over this massive threshold, and it's right now. It's right now. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take to see these next changes come in our world, but the tectonic plates are shifting. And we know we can't keep going the way we're going. And that has so much to do with you saying yes to who you are and your bigger self, and saying no to all of those stories of what everybody told you needed to be for them and for this world, and those lower personality constructs and that trauma programming. And maybe it's like we have to go to this place because in order to resonate with these souls that we're lifting up out of the stuck lower astral plane, we have to understand, what they feel like. We have to have had our own transgressions deep into the dark in order to be the light for any other soul. But this does seem like this is the key thing that's got to happen. And it does have to do with truth and revealing of the darkness on the planet. That is a crucial part of releasing these souls. But I guess the message is to supernova souls just to recognize this big work you're doing right now. And you don't know you're doing it, and it's better that way maybe, but just to help you understand why you feel like you're slogging through the swamp, because you are. Because you're that awesome. And so, wow. So the peak energy of Venus square Mars, of this deservedness for what we need, this is really what we're working through with this Taurus energy, is that the energy of Taurus is about lack and self-worth, and also abundance and potential and wealth. And this earth, the whole program has been about lack, scarcity, trauma, divide and conquer. This is this Venus Mars. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, this game is getting so old. Come on, and maybe this Neptune coming off of the node square. Okay, we're going to get out of the Piscean age now. We're going to go back to celebrating the revelation of what started it all. Because we're not there anymore. And the problem is that most of humanity is more comfortable there because they don't understand what's going on. But that's not your problem. It's no longer our problem. And we got to get that baby and the mama some relief, some oxygen. So, really powerful energies around breaking through this internal opposition, this wrestling with the duality mind, and just like understanding that this excruciating, strange time is this ripping open your heart and ripping open all that programming and coming back home. And it's, yes, maybe we have to go to this point where we've been of like, I give up. I want to go home now. I give up. Fine, you win. You can have the earth. Get me the hell out of here, right? And it's like we have chosen to come and live in this hell, but not without rewards. And are you going to give up right now at the 1 yard line before the Jubilee comes in? No, you're not. You're going to stand up and you're going to face this darkest part of the wilderness and the shadows and the lonely. And you're going to step right through to the other side into the light that you are. And that's how you're grabbing hold of this Christ consciousness and bringing everything into your heart. Bring every problem that's presented to you right now, which is there's plenty. It's really hard to go from the one that's always been weird and strange and nobody, whatever, you're just out there, to the only one that's holding down the fort. And they still don't fricking get it. And they're still going to attack you and blame you. And you're fricking holding down the fort right now. Thank God you're here. Where would we be without you? So here we are. And I'm really excited to see what this energy is like with Mercury turning direct. But Mercury doesn't come back out of shadow into new territory till the 13th. We do have that powerful on the 5th of March. That's when Mercury comes back into Jupiter conjunction. So that's probably when we feel that we're coming out of the retrograde energies. But here we are. The tide is turning, the tectonic shifts, plates are shifting. There's no getting out of this one. So how about we move forward out of this very uncomfortable place, right? And know that you going into the darkness might be bringing a whole bunch of souls back to the light. Keep up the good work. This is the end of the savior story, but I guess we got a little bit more, we got a month of like, we're like on vibrational overload from all the Aquarian energy. Now the sun's moved into Pisces and we got to sort out this shift, this difference that, and that's a good thing because we got to grab a hold of the mystical Christ consciousness revelation, which started this whole story, and get on with the program. You've been planning and waiting for this time. And I know it's been crazy, stuck, blocked, feeling, but maybe that only validates what it is, the bigness of what we're doing here. And so stick with me, stick with it. Let's do this. Look out for that full moon in Virgo energy. That's going to be a big shift as well. So our shifts coming up this weekend, Saturday, we've got Friday, Saturday, Venus square Mars, Saturday, Sunday, Mercury direct. And then early next week, Neptune comes out of its bad movie. So those are these shifting times. And then the full moon on the 26th, and then 27th. And then there we are. Definitely a different energy in March. A lot of these transits, like the Jupiter Black Moon Lilith, go to the end of the year, the energy of it. So let's just see what this last week of February brings on our mystical, magical, mysterious journey. Can we be there? Because the wilderness is full of scary things and Satan, and facing the darkest dark. But the wilderness is also where you can feel the most alive you've ever felt before, and the mysteries of the deep hidden GAIA codes, the original magic of this planet, miracles. So be in the energy of that and know that it exists right next to that darkest, narrowest part of the forest. So here we are. Let's do this. I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great weekend. Let me know how you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.